Thank you, Mr. Chair. And sadly, here we go again. Conservatives have been trying to get the contracts publicly released so that the people who paid for these contracts can see them. And we saw some shifting in position, sadly, of one party in particular around this table that has changed the dynamic, and Conservatives are going to continue to fight for the release of these contracts. Here's the situation. We have over $40 billion in public subsidies planned for various companies. Over $40 billion. That is about $3,000 per Canadian family. That's a very significant amount of money per Canadian family, as I know many families are struggling as a result of the affordability crisis. Food prices are up, rent is up, housing costs are up, defaults are up, hunger is up. There are so many challenges facing our country. And while Canadians are pinching pennies, especially this time of year, the government has made decisions around very significant subsidies to companies to the tune of $3,000 per Canadian family. So Canadians have a right to know what they are getting in return for those subsidies. And what we hear from the Liberals on this is an insistence on praising the deals, and yet an insistence on not showing the details of their work. They want Canadian workers to believe that these are great deals, and yet the Canadian workers can't see them. What we hear from Liberals is that essentially this is the best deal you've never seen, and we're saying, well, if it's a good deal, show it to the people who are supposed to benefit from it, so that they can make up their own minds, so that the public can decide whether or not they think that they should be each on the hook for $3,000 and what the corresponding benefits are associated with these expenditures. If these are good deals, then let people see them. And for hours and hours on end, members across the way have said, these are good deals, these are great deals, these are investments in people, these are fantastic deals, the best deals you've ever seen. Well, you've never seen, actually. These are the best deals you could imagine. Well, you'll have to imagine them because you don't get to know what they are. The best deals you can imagine, and that's all you'll be able to do is the approach that our colleagues opposite want to take to this. And this kind of bluster about the glory of something that can't be seen is bizarre. I think it's unprecedented that they would be so shameless in making claims on the one hand about the quality of their work, and on the other hand about the necessity of keeping that work completely invisible. We have taken a clear, principled position saying that these deals should be subject to democratic scrutiny by the people who are looking at them. That those who are supposed to be the shareholders, in effect, for this deal, those that are putting the money into this deal, should get to see what is in the deal. Are there protections for workers in these deals? Did, in the process of negotiating the handover of $40 billion plus, $3,000 per Canadian family, did the government think to include provisions that would provide protections for Canadian workers, that would definitively ensure that a certain number of jobs are being created in Canada? Did the government think to do that? Or did they forget? Was it a matter of incompetent oversight, or was it a matter of indifference? Did they include those provisions? Did they intend to not include those provisions? Did they have ill intention towards workers? Were they simply capricious in their disregard for Canadian workers? Did they just say, well, Who cares? We don't need it. What was on their mind? What's in this deal? We don't know. As far as they would like to have it, we'll never know. And Mr. Speaker, I'm inclined. Call me a skeptic, Mr. Speaker. You know, I want to be hopeful, especially this time of year. But as a father of 5 children, experience teaches me that when somebody wants to hide something, maybe there's a reason for it, right? Right? When one of my kids says, "Don't look at that. Don't go in that room," right? I can tell you the first thing I'm going to do is want to know what's going on. Any parent of young children has probably had that experience where you're used to a noisy household, and then all of a sudden you think, it seems a little too quiet. I wonder what's going on. Well, members across the way who may have similar experience, I think will have to acknowledge that that they're acting a little bit guilty here. That they're acting a little bit like there are things they want to hide in these contracts. And hey, I invite them to prove me wrong. I invite them to come clean with Canadians. You know, a prime minister of this country once said, "Sunlight is the best disinfectant." I think that was the current prime minister said that, in fact. Yeah. I'm sure soon to be former, but for now, the current prime minister said sunlight is the best disinfectant. So let's disinfect this suspicion that is hanging over our colleagues opposite. And let's give the good people of Windsor the chance to know the truth, Mr. Speaker. We've heard from MPs from the Windsor area and elsewhere saying, you know, the best deal you could possibly imagine, but that's where it's going to stay in your imagination. The best deal you've never seen. And we're saying, show your work. Let the taxpayers, let the workers, let the voters know what's in these deals. And you know, and then sadly, well, we started with a situation in which all of the opposition parties were on board with that principle. We had, in fact, the NDP leader standing up in the House of Commons calling for the release of these contracts. And then we had agreement from all 3 opposition parties in this committee to support the release of these contracts. And then we had a feeble filibuster for a short period of time from the Liberals who wanted to keep these contracts secret. And we're going on and on talking about how great a deal it was, but in the process of talking about how allegedly great a deal it was, they were filibustering to prevent the release of this information. And then I was extremely disappointed to see the NDP, just with a little bit of Liberal pressure, buckle under that pressure from their costly, corrupt, cover-up coalition compadres. They changed their position. First, they had called for the release of these contracts, and then in a fiery fury of flip-flopping, and that's the end of the alliteration. They switched sides and voted with the government to kill our motion to order the production of these contracts. And I think that was a sad betrayal of Canadian workers by the NDP. The NDP likes to claim that it's the party of Canadian workers. And yet we've seen repeatedly, again today, a sad betrayal by the NDP of workers. The NDP is now a shadow of its former self, and it's become a shadow of the Liberal Party. And one of the Liberal members, in fact, said in the House yesterday that the NDP are in their pocket. Well, it's sad but true. We've got now 2 parties of government. We've got the Liberals, and to be fair to the Liberals, they've at least been consistent on it. You know, they've been the party of cover-ups for decades at least. right? That's their brand. They're the party of corruption and cover-ups. That's what they do. They don't quite put it on the sign, but pretty close, right? And but the NDP, they have sold the farm and fully joined with this this tragic coalition, tragic for Canadians, that is trying to hide important information from Canadian taxpayers. So so here we are. So they defeated our motion and then put forward their own motion. Now, this motion that the NDP put forward initially, I must say, Mr. Speaker, it is, Mr. Chair. Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. This is one of the most bizarre motions that I've ever seen come before a committee. The NDP, I think, in the midst of caving to their coalition colleagues, they wanted to still put some window dressing out there for workers. So they put forward a motion that effectively says that they're going to use the ATIP process. So it seems that some NDP MPs could simply be replaced by a $5 bill, because that's all it costs to file an ATIP, is $5. We don't need a parliamentary committee to file an ATIP. Any citizen, any person from Windsor or any other part of the country can take $5 and can go file an ATIP. Now, under this government, the ATIP process has become severely challenged. Under this government, you get massive delays and horrific redactions that prevent you from knowing anything useful if you file an ATIP. So you get your money's worth for that $5. But that's the ATIP process. My colleague, Mr. Perkins, is saying you don't get your money for $5. Well, keep in mind inflation. Just inflation. That $5 doesn't buy as much as it used to, right? And it's true with ATIP as well. Before just inflation, you could actually get some information for $5, but now you can't. But anyways, there's this ATIP process where Canadians can, for $5, file an access to information request. And my colleague from the NDP says, let's, as a parliamentary committee, do what any Canadian can do and file an ATIP. And okay, he's got some other language in there about ensuring that some specific information is included. Frankly, I think there's some procedural problems around the information they're asking for in terms of whether it will actually come up. The procedural problem is that committees have an unfettered right to order the production of existing documents. They cannot order somebody or some entity to create documents which do not exist, right? So committees can order copies of all my love letters to my wife, but it cannot order me to write love letters to my wife, to use a somewhat absurd analogy. So committees can order documents that exist. They cannot order someone to produce documents. So I think there is a little bit of a misunderstanding in terms of this motion, in terms of whether it orders the production of existing documents or whether it orders the creation of documents. So I would like to think we can order the transfer of that information, but I actually suspect that if this motion were to pass, we would in some cases not get the information we wanted, because the entities in question would come back and say, well, we're not producing documents that don't exist. We're only complying with the committee's orders insofar as they involve providing existing documents. So I think in that regard, there was a little bit more heat than light, let's say, in the motion that's been put forward. The basic substantive core of this motion is $5 ATIP. So maybe the committee can save some Canadian the $5 fee, right? Or maybe we could just pass the hat and have everybody throw a nickel in and get this stuff. But this is not the serious work of a parliamentary committee, Chair, quite obviously. Parliamentary committees, unlike private citizens, have the right to request access to any document unredacted. And so we have taken the position that parliamentary committees, this committee, should use the power that it has to order the production of these documents. We've got over $40 billion spent, $3,000 per Canadian family. Liberals say they're great deals. We say, show the deals. We say, let's produce the deals. And at first, we have the NDP agreeing with us that these deals should be produced, while the Liberals are filibustering trying to hide the deals. And then the NDP flip-flop and propose this ridiculous motion that says essentially this committee should do the work that a $5 bill could do on its own, with the help of a person submitting the request, I suppose.
Probably take 11 years.
And it might take 11 years. The committee can order it on any timeline. Right? The committee can order these documents right away. They can say within a week or 10 days or 2 weeks, whatever timeline the committee thinks appropriate, the committee can order that the documents be produced right away. And
in both languages.
Exactly, yeah. We can order the documents right away in both languages. So we should do that. We should order these documents in order that they be made public. Now, but in an effort to find further compromise, in an effort to reason with the other side, my colleague, Mr. Perkins, has put forward a motion which tries to find a middle way, which orders the full production of the documents with suggested redactions to then go to the parliamentary law clerk. And this is a procedure that has been used in the past as a compromise. And instead of even debating that motion, we had New Democrats and Liberals voting to adjourn debate on that motion. They did not even want to talk about our compromise proposal. So we'd be happy to talk further about options for how to make that for how to make this issue move forward. But the motion that the NDP have put forward is just a complete joke. The NDP are trying to cover up for their complicity in the liberal cover-up by putting forward a motion that pretends to ask for information that does not ask for any information that isn't already available through a $5 ATIP. And this underlines the NDP disregard for the real interests of workers, of taxpayers, and of all Canadians. Canadians paid for these deals. They deserve to know what's in them. If they're great deals, show your work. And Mr. Chair, I do have more to say on this, but I will. I'll conclude my remarks for now. If you can add me to the list to say a few more words on the amendment, but I do want to give a chance for other colleagues to weigh in on this. So please add me to the list. But I will. I'll leave my comments there for the moment.